got 5:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this evening's meeting. We've got 4 public hearings on the agenda tonight, and so we're going to move right through those. For those of you who are here to speak at the public meetings as we go through, we're going to follow the agenda in order tonight. We're just going to knock through it. For anyone who has a public comment, there'll be an opening at the beginning for you to come up. Please state your name and your address for the record, and then give any comments that you'd like. Not a lot of people here tonight, so I'm not going to impose much of a time limit, but I would ask if you're coming up and someone else has kind of already given what you have to say, please don't repeat. That will help the commission stay focused on new information and help us get through this. With that, Jen, I'm assuming you have attendance covered. Let's go ahead to item number 2, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 23rd, 2026. I would look for a motion.
I would move to approve the minutes from last month.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we're going to go ahead to the first public hearing, item 3A. I'm going to call to order a public hearing to give consideration to a variance to allow the construction of retaining walls in the shore impact zone and to allow the removal of 3 healthy trees from the shore impact zone at 1019 Lakewood Avenue. Larry, can you give us a brief rundown?
Yes. Eric and Lisa Lawson have requested a variance to allow retaining walls in the shore impact zone and the removal of 3 healthy trees from the shore impact zone at 1019 Lakewood Drive. There's an 8 to 10 foot drop from the house to the lake. The retaining walls are needed to replace the existing deteriorated retaining wall system on the property, and the trees need to be removed as they will suffer root damage due to removal of steps and the retaining walls. Section 18, subdivision 7E states that landscape walls are not allowed in the shore impact zone and a variance is needed for the project. I would note that in a later item on our agenda, we're going to look at changing our zoning ordinances, and one of the changes would be that we would allow retaining walls in the shore impact zone, as that's typically the place where they are needed.
Okay.
Staff recommends approval of the variance requested based on the following findings. Number 1, the variance is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance. The proposed project will restore the lakeshore and remove deteriorated retaining wall, steps, and trees that are currently a safety concern. Additional riprap will be added in order to minimize future erosion. The retaining walls need to be replaced to avoid further deterioration and erosion. 2, the variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposed plan increases the functionality of and value of the lot by removing the deteriorated retaining walls and building a new retaining wall system. 3, the proposal will put the property to use in a reasonable manner. The proposed project improves the lakeshore and prevents erosion. 4, there are circumstances unique to the property, since there is an 8 to 10 foot change in elevation from the house to the lakeshore. The change in elevation needs to be addressed, and retaining walls and riprap will stabilize the shoreline and facilitate the grade change. 5, the variance will maintain the essential character of the locality. The lakeshore restoration will improve the looks of the property, protect the lot from erosion, and maintain the essential character of the area. The only condition that we've suggested is that the owner replace the 3 existing trees in the shore impact zone.
Okay, thank you, Larry. At this time, I would open it up to public comment. Is there anyone that would like to address the commission or make a public statement about this issue? Anyone who would like to make a comment? All right, hearing no comments, I'll close the public hearing, and I would open it up to the commission for discussion and a motion, or a motion.
Larry, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I have a question, Larry. It doesn't state what is the products that are going to be used as far as building the retaining wall. I'm assuming that with the steps that were there before, it was possibly railroad ties, which used to be used, and that's what's deteriorating?
Well, typically, you grant the variance and the way that they build it would be something that would come out when they apply for their building permit or their zoning permit.
And does that get reviewed by watershed as far
That
as
just
any
gets
kind of
reviewed by
recommendation?
staff at this point. That would just be reviewed by staff, city staff.
Okay. I mean, I know that previous retaining systems were products that are really not recommended now as far as the safety of the water, and so do we
I
have
think,
control
I
over
think the
that?
owner could address that. I think he knows what material he's planning to use.
Yes, please. And would you just state your name and address for the record?
Yeah. Eric Lawson, 1019 Lakewood Drive, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. The current, it will be a stone of some kind on the steps. The current, the retaining walls will be ledgestone step, ledgestone rock. And yes, we are replacing old railroad tie, rotten wood that is probably leaching into the lake currently. So that's why we're trying to address the whole situation.
Have you consulted with like a lakeshore management landscape person to?
Yeah, so as far as our drawings and all of that, that's all been done by Superior Lakeside. And they're the ones that gave us a recommendation on the tiering of it. And they've came out and surveyed it and laid it all out to where it would land and where we would go with it.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess just to note Larry's comment about 3 trees, that's not gonna be an issue. There will be plantings in these levels as well as whatever trees we need to replace. That's just something that we kind of have to determine when project is all done and we can see where we plot them. So.
Great, thank you. All right, any other questions or discussion?
I just have one question for Larry. Larry, does the condition of getting a Pelican Watershed District permit not exist?
They're no longer in the shore impact zone
Okay.
business. They have
I just
kept
had
all
to
their
confirm
other,
that.
all their other rules are intact, but they have eliminated that.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve with your recommendation of trees, which it sounds like you plan to do.
And I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the table to approve the variance, I'm assuming with the findings from the city. And is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Call to order a public hearing to give consideration to a non-conforming use expansion to allow a rooftop deck on an existing 11 by 16-foot water-oriented accessory building at 2272 Long Lake Road for Marty Johansson. Larry?
I will make this short and sweet. The request has been withdrawn.
Oh,
That's easy.
Okay, well, next time tell me before and I won't even go over it other than to mention it.
We needed to get it in the minutes anyway.
I would have gotten it in the minutes, but all right. We'll close that public hearing and we'll open up a public hearing for item 3C. Public hearing to give consideration to a rezoning from R2 to R4 Limited Multifamily Residence District, a conditional use permit to allow a senior housing planned unit development in an R4 district, and including a variance to allow a building height of 44 feet and 5 inches instead of 39 feet at 565 South Shore Drive, South Shore Senior Living. Larry, can you please bring us up to speed on this one?
Yes. A request has been made by South Shore Senior Living to rezone an 11.76 acre tract of South Shore Drive and 270th Avenue, and for approval of a conditional use permit to allow a planned unit development for a 141-unit senior living community. The PUD will include up to 72 units of active living, 18 units of independent care, 29 units of assisted living, and 22 units of memory care. The property is at 565 South Shore Drive. It's an 11.76 acre site. It's currently zoned R2. They've requested R4 zoning, which is limited multifamily, and I'm suggesting the following conditions be considered for the planned unit development. Number 1, that all programs meet regulations and standards set by appropriate governing board and agencies. 2, that all requirements of state, fire marshal, local health authorities are complied with. 3, all requirements of this zoning ordinance and building code are complied with. 4, parking areas containing 5 or more spaces are screened and landscaped from abutting and surrounding residential uses in compliance with Section 3, Subdivision 5 of the zoning ordinance. 5, the grades and topography of the site shall not restrict the use of yards and open spaces. 6, the applicant can demonstrate a need for the use based on existing concentration of similar uses within the neighborhood and/or community. 7, that the owner obtain a land disturbance permit from the city prior to issuance of a building permit for this project. 8, that the applicant also apply for a land disturbance permit from the city prior to issuance of building permits. 9, that the owner obtain a construction stormwater permit from Minnesota Pollution Control Agency prior to issuance of a building permit. You just heard 3 different agencies now that are involved in stormwater, so 3 agencies are regulating the same drop of water. So, sorry about that, but that's just how it is. Number 9, that the owner obtain a Pelican River Watershed District prior to issuance of a building permit for this project. Number 11, that the site be under single ownership or unified control. 12, that the owner obtain a mitigation permit from the city for exceeding 25% impervious surface coverage. 13, that the project be constructed generally as shown on the site plan. 14, that 50% of the project area be open space and that 20% of the project area be usable open space. 14, that the owners provide the city with a landscape plan that meets city city staff approval. And 15, that the property be rezoned from R4 to limited R4 limited multifamily. The proposed 141 units meets the density requirements for the site. The tallest proposed buildings on the site are 44 feet 5 inches. The proposed impervious surface coverage is 34.67, and the zoning ordinance allows up to 35% impervious surface coverage through mitigation. The proposed project meets all of the requirements and conditions listed in the zoning ordinance with the exception of the building height, which is 39 feet, and so that requires a variance for the 2 westerly buildings. This is a $40 million investment in Detroit Lakes. With regard to the variance to allow a 44-foot 5-inch building height instead of the required 39-foot maximum height for the 2 westerly buildings, the following findings should be considered. Number 1, the variance is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. The ordinance is intended to promote public health, safety, and general welfare, ensure compatible land uses, and encourage orderly development. Allowing additional building height in this case supports those goals by enabling a well-designed senior living center that integrates more effectively into residential neighborhood. The increased height is not for additional density or intensity, but rather to accommodate a pitched roof that enhances the architectural character and reduces the appearance of a large institutional structure. This design approach aligns with the intent of maintaining compatibility and avoiding visual impacts typically associated with flat-roofed commercial buildings. In addition to a pitched roof rather than a flat roof, the first building level of the building is for parking, which requires a taller building. The variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan supports a range of housing types, including senior housing, and emphasizes quality, design, neighborhood compatibility, and meeting community needs. The development advances these goals by providing needed senior housing while incorporating residential scale architectural elements. The increased height is directly tied to achieving this design objective and does not conflict with the broader land use or development policies. The comprehensive plan also shows multifamily use in this area. Number 3, the proposal puts the property to use in a reasonable manner as it allows 2 buildings to have a height of 44 feet 5 inches. This allows a 3-story structure with parking on the first level. This design reduces the amount of impervious surface on the site as it combines dwelling units with what would otherwise be a standalone parking lot. Number 4, there are unique circumstances related to this property and proposed use. The need to balance a large-scale residential care facility with a predominantly residential neighborhood creates a unique design challenge. Unlike typical single-family structures, senior living facilities require larger building footprints and massing. The use of a pitched roof to break up the building mass and create a residential character necessitates additional height beyond the standard limit. This is a design-driven constraint specific to this type of development and site context, not a condition generally applicable to all properties. Number 5, the variance will maintain and may enhance the essential character of the locality. The increased height is being used to achieve a pitched roof design that is more consistent with surrounding residential structures. With careful architectural design of residential buildings and the inclusion of natural tree buffering and thoughtful planned open space, this project will complement and protect the community resources. This approach reduces the perceived scale and institutional appearance of the building compared to a flat roof alternative at a lower height. As a result, the project is more compatible with the neighborhood and better preserves the residential character of the area. The parking lot with 2 stories of apartment above it will help maintain the essential character of the neighborhood as it will allow more open space on the project site. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit for a 141-unit senior living community, rezoning to R4 limited multifamily, and a variance to allow 2 buildings to be 44 feet, 5 inches tall.
All right.
I
Go ahead,
did
Larry.
receive one letter, and that came from Ecumen, and they were opposed to the project for a variety of reasons. I sent that letter out to all of you for your review, and I'm not going to read the 4-page letter, but they essentially object to the project because of the number of units and because of the number of employees that it creates, the number of jobs that it creates.
Larry, if anybody wanted to see a copy of that letter, how would they do so?
They could contact me and I could forward them that letter.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, as we get ready to open up the floor to hear for public comments, just a quick reminder, please do your best to not repeat. Also, address your comments to me, the chair, and do not engage in conversation with the rest of the commission, and the same goes for the commissioners. Make a notes of your comments or questions that you can ask or bring up during our discussion time. All right.
The developer does have a presentation that he would like to make, or that they would like to make.
Okay. Was that a recommendation to start with their presentation before the comment, or do you?
You can do it however you wish.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm open to that if you guys want to start, and then we'll open it up for the remainder of the comments.
Did you want to wait and do that later?
I think it might be helpful to, address any questions that might be.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
It's a 2-minute video if you humor us. Larry, I think we loaded it on your laptop.
Yep. We're gonna just wait, though. We're gonna wait and see if we have any comments or questions. Are there any, does anybody have any comments or questions?
I think we were going to play the video and then, as their first, essentially their first comment, and then.
Okay.
Do you need to
I
hit
forgot
play?
to ask how long this was.
He said about 2 minutes.
Okay.
You using LexNet still here?
Try hitting play in the,
Buffering.
try hitting play in the bottom left corner again. All right. With that, I will ask if there are any comments anyone would like to make to the commission. Come on up, Jay.
My name's Jay Hansen, 2111 270th Avenue. I'm speaking for myself, also for Caroline Dizzy at 554 South Shore, and Amber Abraham at 651 South Shore. And we love old people, and we are encouraging you to pass the, change the zoning and approve the variance and bring it out to our neighborhood. It'll be a good fit. Thank you.
I'm Margaret Gunderson from South Shore Drive. I have a few questions. One is, have the local senior living facilities been notified of this hearing?
The only notification they would have received would have been the published notification in the newspaper. But they did, Ecumen did respond.
Because I gave them a heads up. Yeah. So my point being, they certainly would be interested, all of these area senior living facilities, they would certainly be interested in knowing that the city is considering bringing in direct competition to them, and certainly the facts and figures and perspective that they could provide regarding local senior living facilities would be helpful to the Planning Commission as you're doing your due diligence before coming to a decision. May I suggest that you not make a decision until you've had the opportunity to hear from them? Second question, how many parking stalls will be provided within the active living building?
Well, we can try to answer that. I mean, the developer can choose to answer that when, after the public comments, if they would, after the rest of the public comments, if they'd like. But this is your opportunity to make your comments.
Okay. The point being on that is, unless there's sufficient parking available in the complex, there will be a street parking problem. And we already have been down that road with the South Shore boat landing every summer, all summer long, every weekend, every holiday. We have a whole string of pickups and boat trailers all up and down South Shore Drive. And this complex, if there's a bunch of street parking, it's gonna be a dangerous problem. We have all kinds of walkers, runners, bicycles, young mothers with strollers, dog walkers, and for them to come out into the street instead of being able to use the walking, biking lane is gonna be dangerous. Question 3. What building height is being considered? The hearing notice says 44.5 feet. The application for the project says 60 feet. Which is it?
The variance in here is for 44 feet 5 inches. That's the proposed variance.
If you look at your application from the project, it says they are requesting 60 feet.
I understand that. The proposed variance is for 44 feet 5 inches.
Okay. May I direct you to page 35 and 36 of the packet? There are two architectural renderings clearly showing sidewalks, trees, and decorative street lamps on both sides of South Shore Drive and 270th Avenue. My question is that an artistic flourish for the rendering, or is that actually going to be part of the project? And my last question. You will notice on the sketch or the architectural rendering that was given to everyone for the hearing, driveways on the South Shore side were indicated for some properties, but not for all. And immediately across from the main entrance, the main driveway into the property, is a wide, of course, driveway. It is directly across from property that doesn't show a driveway. That would be our property. We do have a driveway, and because it'll be directly across from the project with a lot of traffic coming and going, that will certainly impact our view to see traffic all day long, all night as well in the winter, headlights coming straight down our driveway into our home. And that, I can tell you, I dread that. And if it were possible for the project managers, the project planners, to move their main driveway a little bit to the west so that the impact would be going straight into our whole row of spruce trees instead of right down the driveway, it would be well appreciated.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Appreciate the comments. Further comments, further public comments or public remarks? Would anyone else like to address the commission? Would you gentlemen like to address the commission?
Can address some of that. Can you pull up the site plan, Larry?
Sure.
And just so we have it on the record, would you state your name and who you're with?
Sure.
I'm Mike Kuntz with TL Stroh Architects. We're designing the project.
Thank you.
The first item is the parking, I believe, question that she had. We do have a table in our drawings.
Should be page 31.
Yeah.
Correct. 177.
And then can you zoom that parking table?
Sure.
Required is 177
do that.
provided. is 100.
78.
Getting there. Up. Right there, yeah. So our first pass at the parking, and of course, we're complying with Detroit Lakes requirements for that, but active living, independent living, assisted living, memory care, they all, and then the full-time employees all require different parking ratios. So when we went through there's a required parking calculation that puts us at 177 total parking stalls. And then we just, at this point, designed to that, and we exceeded it, and we're at 178 design stalls. Many of them, we'd have 114 plus another 9 in garages, so there's 123 that are either under the building or housed within garages, so. I feel like we've met that requirement, and we're open to, we have a lot of site, we're kind of up against it with our impervious, but we could definitely do not want a parking problem, and parking on the street's not gonna work for the type of facility we're building here, so open to that. Next, maybe we hit that driveway question, I already forgot the other one, but the alignment of the driveway was something that we hadn't really considered from the neighbor's perspective at least, but I do think if we're talking a few feet to the west or something, that's something we can easily address, and it makes sense. I can see in the aerial that there's a row of trees there that if we take, you know, headlights or whatever, if that would mitigate some of that, I think that's easy to address that. Sidewalks and boulevard, yeah, you caught the same thing too. So, the rendering, could we go down 2 pages or so? In the deck.
A little bit further up, yeah.
Maybe up a couple more if you could. Oh, where's
Page 35.
35?
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one there. So in our haste to get to a rendering and an animation that really, I think, you know, we show a lot of improvement on South Shore Drive. I don't know that would be, you know, we're not into full site plan review yet, but we can, we don't anticipate putting sidewalks for sure on anybody else's side of the property. I don't think even ours out front, we tried to spend a lot of time with a buffer yard and some trees and have real good intentions of just blending into that environment. So if that city sidewalk's not required or the city streetlights aren't required, we sure don't feel the need to press on that. We want internally our site lit up for walk paths and things like that, but not the public, not with those improvements in the public right away, I guess would be probably more ears to dictate than ours, if that's fair. So.
Yep, absolutely. I think the other question that had come up was the building height in the application versus the variance.
I think is R4 allows up to 60 feet?
Up to 39 feet,
R4?
yes.
Okay. Where's the 60 come from?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. That's my fault. We
Probably
typed that in the
RM.
application.
RM allows 60 feet.
Maybe that's what we're thinking.
Multifamily residential allows 60 feet.
Okay. Our intent is not 60 feet. I botched that in the application. The 44.9 that we've worked with, 44.9?
44.5.
44.5.
44.5 is our intent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any further comments from the public? Any additional comments? All right, hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing and open it up for discussion with the commission. What questions do you have?
Mr. Chair, I have a point of order.
Okay.
Are we going to approve these on separate motions?
Yes, we will need 3 separate motions for this.
Thank you.
Who has the first question?
I have a question. Larry, can you just clarify for me, this is a multi-unit living space. What's the difference for this type of a proposal to use R4 rather than RM?
Either one would have worked just as well, but I think that just for the sake of not wishing to overzone the property and ending up, if they decided not to do it, it would be then available for multifamily development, which is not necessarily something we would want at that corner. Whereas with the R4, it's lower density and lower building height, and it would have been more compatible with the rest of the neighborhood if, in fact, they didn't go through with their project. So that's probably the justification for the R4 rather than RM.
Well, and then referring to the letter that we received from Ecumen, she indicated that she felt that R4 is not permitted with the senior care type of operations. I don't know what her research was, but so that's my question. R4 is okayed for senior care operations?
Yeah, you could even do this as an R2, but then the R2 didn't have the building height that they were looking for. In fact, in this case, they didn't get to the building height they needed without a variance anyway.
Okay. And then I have a question for y'all. Since I've been in senior caregiving stuff, what is active living? Different than senior living?
Come on.
Yeah, please.
Hi. So Todd Willett, I'm with Ebenezer Senior Living. We're out of Edina, Minnesota.
Just a little background on us. We're the largest operator of senior living in the state of Minnesota. We have some communities in the outstates, surrounding Minnesota as well. We get this question a lot, and we've discussed it a lot with the developers about active senior versus independent senior and what the differences are. I would say that active senior living, 55 plus, a lot of people are referring to it as, is more, even more independent than independent living that's been in the traditional senior living space, where you have independent living, assisted living, memory care. It's a little bit of a younger population. Folks that are building straight active adult buildings without assisted living and memory care tied to them, generally aren't putting like commercial kitchens in them. So it's really, and there's no care in them at all. So it really is multifamily living, but for age restricted, right? This campus is more unique, where we're gonna have more of the active adult as well as your traditional independent living. We are seeing more developments happening where you have the full continuum of care. Right, from very active to where the independent living spaces can flex as both independent and assisted living, so that people, when they need care, don't need to move from one apartment to another. So people that are coming into the community that are maybe on the verge of needing services would probably choose the independent living side of the building, because they know then once they need cares, they can just stay in that apartment and bring cares to them in that unit. Now, if they needed to move to memory care, then they're gonna need to move. But someone on that's very, very independent, I would say, and is looking for more activities, more being in and out of the community, and they would maybe choose to live in that active adult side. Because they're not quite on the needing cares, needing meals, right? If you're in the independent AL side, you can get access to 3 meals a day made for you if you would choose to do that, or a couple of meals a day, or a couple of meals a week, right? So that IL-AL component that's on the, well, when you're looking at the screen, the left side of the screen, is more flexible. It can be, we're showing, you know, the certain amount of IL and certain amount of AL, but quite honestly, they could all be assisted living if that's the need of the residents that are living in those spaces. On the active adult side, we wouldn't be able to bring the assisted living over to that side of the building. In Minnesota now, there's building code where you can't build more than 2 stories of stick frame for assisted living and 1 story of memory care. Otherwise, to go more vertical, you have to be concrete or steel. So we wouldn't be licensing the taller buildings as assisted living, where the rest of the community would be licensed as assisted living memory care. Make sense? Mm-hmm. It's not very super clear all the time, but I appreciate the question.
Okay. Additional questions or discussion?
I've got one question, Larry. On the staff report, item number 6, the applicant can demonstrate the need for such a use based upon existing concentration of similar uses within the neighborhood and or community. I've not seen that before. What does that,
That's fairly typical in these requests.
okay,
And we have a housing study that spells it out and says we do need this kind of housing.
okay. Thank you.
That was my next question. Was there is a need
There-
for
there's
this variety
definitely a
of
need.
living?
Yes.
I have a question on the project plan timeline. I'm guessing this is just a typo, but it says opens March of '27. I'm guessing that's supposed to be '28. That's all I had.
Okay, so it is March of 28. Got it.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to address Mrs. Gunderson's comment.
Yeah.
I will say this much, I am a South Shore resident, and this past Memorial Weekend, with the opening and the new boat launch on the north side of Detroit Lakes, We did not see the amount of boats that we normally see on South Shore Drive, so that was a huge benefit. So thank you, city and DNR, for making that happen.
Okay, further questions or comments?
I guess the comment I have is this has been a hot topic property for many years now. We've had various different proposals. We've had lots of passion. We've had a lot of conversation over, what is it, 3 or 4 years? And I think we've come to a proposal here that seems to fit the wishes of not the entire neighborhood, but if you can get some of the neighborhood in some of these, I think it's a win. I know that in the past, we've had everybody opposed to a proposal, it seemed like, but, you know, I appreciate the consistent, you know, efforts of people bringing things forward, because that's what we need. We have these housing studies out there that say that we have a need. We've got a need for businesses. We need places for people to live, whether it's my parents are sitting on 2 houses. Maybe my parents move into this one because we shot down the Eventide on East Shore Drive. Perfect place for them to move, you know, half mile down the road, but now they'd have to move, you know, 2.5 miles down the road. And now we've got 2 homes that can be used for single-family homes. And I think it's an opportunity that we have here in Detroit Lakes to embrace development, embrace more housing, different types of housing. We don't all need single-family homes. If there's age restrictions on this, you know, maybe I age a couple of years, and maybe I want to move into active living so I can just slide on down to memory care whenever that happens next year, the year after. But I think this is a good proposal. Yeah, that's what I have for a comment on this.
Great, thanks, Dan. Any further comments?
Mr. Chair, I just have one more comment.
Yes.
Mr. Hanson, thank you for bringing a positive comment to the table.
Am I negative all the time?
No, no, no. We never get to hear.
Blame me.
We never get to hear the positive. We hear more of the no versus the yes. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any further comments from the commission? If not, I think we need 3 motions. I would, after some brief consultation with our resident lawyer, I think we need to do the zoning ordinance, then the conditional use permit, and then the variance.
I would like to make a motion to approve rezoning from R2 to R4 for the property listed as 565 South Shore Drive.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the rezoning from R2 to R4 for this property. Any discussion from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the conditional use permit as stated in the findings as well as the conditions presented by staff.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the conditional use permit with the staff's findings and conditions. Any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We need one more.
I don't know the word, what was it for?
For the variance.
height.
Variance, the height.
You have the height.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the variance for the height, I'm assuming with the staff's.
Staff's findings and recommendations.
All right, thank you very much. Further discussion from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, so next steps, where does this go from here? It's gonna go to the Community Development Committee, which meets at 5 o'clock. Larry, what's the date? I should have looked at that. On the 9th? Okay.
June 9th.
June 9th at 5 PM in that room right back there is where. Oh, boy. Okay.
The day before, that's the
See, this is, I haven't looked ahead 3 weeks yet. Yeah, so June 8th, Monday, June 8th at 5 PM in that back room, the Community Development Committee will meet and discuss this, and then that committee will bring it forward to the council, which meets at 5 PM on Tuesday, June 9th, right in here where the final decisions will be made. And of course, you know, with a rezoning, there's got to be more than one reading, so this will take a couple of months to work through the system. So just bear that in mind as well for all of you. With that, I think we have one item of business under public hearings yet. So I would call to order a public hearing to give consideration to amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Detroit Lakes relative to permitted accessory and conditional uses in business district. Now, for any of you who are not interested in sticking around for a really fun zoning discussion, please feel free to take a moment now, and Larry will go ahead and start walking us through the changes. Thank you all for being here and your comments.
Okay. We had a group of planning commissioners that met and discussed this on a couple of occasions, so we'll see how this plays out tonight. The first item that we changed was we eliminated a bunch of definitions that didn't show up in our ordinance at all. So we had definitions, we had things defined that were not part of our ordinance, so we are eliminating those. We've added some definitions or modified some definitions in the next section. In the RM district and the commercial districts and the industrial districts, we currently have a requirement that they have 15% of their lot landscaped, but we don't have an actual restriction that limits them to 85% impervious surface coverage. So the next few sections take care of that and require them to be limited to 85% impervious surface. It's just a clarification. It's been that way for a long time, but this just makes it more codified. In the next section, the subdivision 2, or excuse me, section 11, subdivision 2, we're talking about all of the different permitted uses. And the reason we went through our ordinance was that we had a lot of different descriptions of what the uses were, so they weren't uniform. The B1 might describe retail differently than the B2 district did and differently than the B3 district did. So we've made all of these uniform throughout those 3 districts, and they are also cumulative. So everything that's allowed in the B1 district is also allowed in the B2 district and in the B3 district. Similarly, everything in the B2 district is allowed in the B3 district with some additional items. Did we send out any comparison information? Okay. If you want to we could look at a side-by-side comparison of those uses if you're at all interested. Oh, here it is. So what this shows us is that item A under B3, automotive services, is only a use that's in the B3 district. It's not a use in the B1 or B2 district. Billboards are allowed in both the B2 and the B3 district, but not the B1 district. So if you want to go through that level of detail, we can. Otherwise, I will jump ahead and
I don't
move
think
on.
we need to go through that level of detail here unless anyone else would like to dive that deep. But I would appreciate it if you would send it out to all of us.
We will send it out to everyone.
It's a nice cheat sheet.
But as you can see, look at item C, D, and G. It talks about essential services, and it defines them all the same way in all of the 3 districts. So it's just a cleaner, easier read. They're all listed alphabetically, so they should be easy to find if people know their alphabet.
And Larry, if you don't mind me pointing out, the other thing is cannabis was adopted outside of the ordinance. It's now inclusive in this revision.
Yeah, jump in and add anything you think that's important that I not. That's good. We also have this comparison for conditional uses, but conditional uses are different. They aren't cumulative. They are distinct because some of the uses that would be a conditional use in the B1 or B2 district might be a permitted use in the B3 district. So it's very hard to make that cumulative.
I'm assuming you'll include that in what you send out as well?
We'll send that as well.
Thank you.
So do you want to go through all of the particular uses, or how do you want to proceed?
I think we should at least take a moment and entertain any questions the commission has after reviewing it. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, we should probably give a quick overview, Larry. Hit the highlights. Thank you for the reminder, Kelsey.
I don't see anyone here to comment. but- Okay, so the permitted uses in the, excuse me, I gotta flip back here. The permitted uses in the B1 district go from item A through item O. Quit that. Anyway, it starts with retail and service. It also lists offices, restaurants, cultural facilities, lodging facilities, recreational facilities, processing and printing, minor fabricating and repair, residential use. In the I-1 district, apartments are allowed as long as they're located above commercial establishments. So basically, it has to be commercial on the main level, and then it can be apartments up above, which seems to be working pretty well in the downtown. Custom manufacturing and repair, transportation, parking.
I don't think you need to go through them all. Likewise, just make sure you do the public hearing pieces.
He means
It,
open
it
public
doesn't
hearing.
hurt to just, I think your brief version is really good because I don't know how much all of us have read all of this. So I think your very brief version is good because it forces us to take a second and think about this before we vote on a pretty significant set of changes.
Essential services, and then probably the last two items are fairly new. One is lower potency hemp edibles. So the sale of lower potency hemp edibles by registered lower potency hemp edibles retailers. That allows people to sell gummies or whatever, and also THC beverages. So places like Zorba's and Lakeside would be interested in having that. And those businesses are not restricted by the buffers that we have around cannabis businesses. The other item that we have in here is outdoor display, sale, and rental as an accessory use. We have been allowing that for as long as I've been here, and we've just kind of put the blinders on and let that happen. Now we're going to codify it and describe how people can do that. So I think it's a good idea, and I think it'll work pretty well. The next section lists the conditional uses in the B1 district, and that would be gas stations, self-service establishments like laundries and dry cleaners, funeral homes, daycare facilities, and standalone multifamily dwellings. The permitted uses in the B2 district, again, include all of the ones that are in the B1. And the way that I had it before, I could just go to the end and tell you what the last 5 were that are new to the B2 district. But now that it's alphabetical, I have to sort through and try and figure out which ones are new. Right. So, in this case, the additional permitted uses are gas stations, billboards, and wholesale businesses, which seem to be the kind of businesses that fit in a B2 but not in a B1. And then conditional uses were in the B2 are funeral homes, care facilities, multifamily dwellings, outdoor commercial recreation, animal hospitals, automotive services, and pole buildings.
One question I have is, with the severe shortage of care facilities, specifically childcare, why are we not having that as a permitted use rather than a conditional use? To have the extra burden to go through those steps?
Habit. And if you're making a suggestion, we could change that and put that under permitted uses.
It was just something I saw that if we're trying to reduce barriers and get more childcare, figured that it would be.
Is there a good reason to have it a conditional use?
Part of the issue was that there are childcare centers in commercial districts. So, it just seemed like maybe there's a reason to have this conditional use, just to make sure the safety and stuff was complying, they were,
Right.
uses were consistent, those type of things, but
But if like Lake Shirts or BTD or one of the manufacturing facilities put a daycare facility in, they'd have to go through the dog and pony show of getting a conditional use permit.
And
They wouldn't because it's a permitted use in an industrial district.
so
Alright,
we have
So
precedent.
different.
for that very reason.
Interesting. So there's arguably precedent for it already being a permitted use in some case.
Correct.
But in the case of Mahabiatwa, we're in a B2, we would need a conditional use permit to put that facility
Correct.
in again.
I get Kelsey's
It's a
point, though, leaving
policy
it as
issue. It's,
conditional. So you have some discretion over if they're trying to put it in an area where it shouldn't even be considered being put.
Do we have that much discretion though? Because I mean, it's still, that falls into, it's gonna fall into the quasi judicial part of what we do, so it's gonna depend on the conditions. Go ahead, Dylan.
He's inching his way over there.
I saw it.
Yeah.
If the application can fit with the conditions, then the application gets approved, or should get approved, would be a better way to put it.
that's a good way to put it.
So, to leave it in the conditional use section would mean that you would get to have some conditions. So theoretically, you could make a condition about some safety aspect. But, if it's not like you're gonna get an you're not gonna be able to have an applicant come up here and, decide whether or not they can have their daycare facility there because whether or not you like it. I mean, does it fit with the conditions? Yes, then it should get approved. If it doesn't, then it shouldn't.
My thought would be that given the amount of regulation that daycare facilities have, I don't see any problem with it being allowed as a permitted use.
I guess that was the point I was gonna make too, because even in your conditional use, you say, provided operating and licensing requirements of federal, state, and local agencies are met. Sounds like we have 3 to 17 agencies that are already regulating this. Thoughts from the rest of the commission? Dan, since you brought it up?
I guess since I brought it up, I'd like to see it as just a permitted use.
I would too.
I'm on board.
I'm on board with that.
Okay.
Just had to talk it through.
So for the B3 district, the permitted uses that are new would be automotive services, car washes, and cannabis retail. The conditional uses in the B3 district are outdoor sales and rental, commercial planned unit developments, multifamily dwellings, pole buildings, and crematorium.
Okay, Larry, on the rest of them, I think it's kind of buzzed through the highlights.
Right,
Anything you want to call out?
okay. One thing that we did later on in
Kelsey's
this
got one
ordinance
question.
is we've changed the,
Larry, Kelsey has a quick question.
I just caught this, so, I think in the B3 district for conditional uses, that outdoor services and sales, since we moved that up to permitted, I don't know if we'll need it in the conditional uses anymore,
Okay, we can take that out.
because we
Good
may have
catch.
permitted accessory use now.
Where's Ian? I didn't hear him.
Oh, if your B3 conditional uses, item A, outdoor sales and rental is already in permitted uses, so he's saying we don't think, we don't need it in.
Thought you would be a conditional use if it was not an accessory use. Was that our discussion?
Yeah, I think all we need to do is take out accessory use.
If it was gonna be a principal use.
So the words or accessory use, so then
Yes.
it would read outdoor service, sale and rental as a principal use. And including, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So we did also change the setbacks for side yards in the B3 district. They're 10 feet, except on corner lots, they're required to have a 20-foot setback. We've also changed the ordinance to allow retaining walls in the shore impact zone. And we're changing the timing of regular meetings. At least the applicant has to have their application in the month prior to the month that they want to be on the agenda. So if they wanted to be on the May agenda, they would have to have their application in by the end of April. Currently, we have a requirement that they have to be in 15 days ahead of the application. That timing is inadequate to make all of the arrangements and meet the notification deadlines because we only have a weekly newspaper now, so we have to have enough time to get it in and have 15 days or the number of days we need for notification. 15 days is too short. Especially since the newspapers have a longer wait time that you have to have it in so much earlier than you used to, which I don't understand. Now we've got all this technology, and yet they have an earlier deadline for meeting that. So this works very well for us, and this is kind of how we've been handling it informally already, so.
What sort of
And the
negative
same thing is
impacts?
happening for the, acting as the Board of Adjustment, we're doing the same kind of thing. The current requirement there is 21 days, which is pretty adequate, but that's pretty close to having to be done the month prior. The thing about requiring people to get it in the month prior is that that's an easy thing to tell them. If you tell them 15 or 21 days, that's meaningless to them because they don't know what date the Planning Commission is going to meet. So this is a good way for them to always, it's consistent that we can tell them they have to have it in April to be on the May meeting.
The question I had is, what impact does that have on the regular citizen? Because we do have a short building period.
It doesn't seem to have affected anything because everybody comes in at the last minute regardless of where you draw the line. And we have the same issue with the 60-day rule that depending on wherever you draw that line, there's a time period when the 60-day rule isn't going to be met if people apply then, and we just send out a notice extending that time.
Okay, is that your full review, Larry?
That's it.
Okay, I mean, just for the record, there's nobody here to give a public comment, so I'm going to officially close the public hearing. And Dylan, I think you had something to say.
I just want to make it clear or let you guys know that the language in section 20 subdivision 1B and 21 subdivision 7C, it's the same language essentially, which is the language on the, Larry mentioned on the changes does set up for violations of the 60-day rule for basically every applicant that applies before the city council meeting or of that month. I did some math. So just on an application, assuming this language is adopted, an applicant who applied on June 1st of this year wouldn't have the public hearing until the 23rd of July and wouldn't be acted upon until the August 11th council date, which is 71 days since the application is received. The 60-day rule is obviously 60 days. So there is some, Larry does point out that there is a mechanism where we can get an extension, but the language change does require us to actively get that extension on everyone who applies before that month's city council meeting. And of course, if somebody applies, let's say the day after, we don't necessarily need to get the extension from them at that point. But if the city council decides that they need some other thing, we are now required to get an extension. And so it does put some burden on the city to make sure that we are tracking when the 60-day rule it gets triggered. And just for everybody's benefit, the 60-day rule requires acted upon by the city. The public hearing at a planning commission is not being acted upon. Applications are acted upon at the city council meeting, which is where you get the slight issue. Obviously, there's a workaround. It just, that language does require some tracking by the city.
We currently have that issue that we deal with anyway, because based on the timing of when an applicant applies, we still run into that 60-day rule regardless of what the deadline is. And we don't run into it that often, but we do track it. We have a sheet in all of our application files that tracks that, and we keep track of it very carefully.
Would it
But,
be
and
worth
with
then,
rezonings, we always have to ask for the extension because it requires 2 readings by the council.
would it be worth extending it to like 75 days? So then,
That's
That's-
statutory.
The 60-day rule is a statutory requirement from the state. We can't do anything with it.
We're
We must
handcuffed to
comply
that.
with that.
okay, fine.
I don't know. I mean, is it going to happen more often? And are we at risk of violating it more?
We've been informally doing it, so I don't think it's going to happen any more frequently than it does now.
I guess if the city staff is comfortable managing that. Any comments or thoughts on that from the rest of the commission? Okay.
It's been good for the public because it's easy to tell them when the deadline is, rather than having to tell them your deadline is July 6th instead of the end of the month or whatever. It's just, it works out very well.
Okay. Well, further discussion on this? The changes we made, we changed the care facilities to a permitted use from a conditional use in the language that was provided, and we removed accessory use from the outdoor displays in conditional use under the B3 district. Is that correct?
Correct.
Were there any other changes that I missed in my memory there? Okay, well, if there's no further discussion, I think we'll be looking for a motion.
Does this also go to the community development?
Yes, this will go to the Community Development
The city
Committee, yes.
Yep.
I would make a motion to approve
Amending the zoning ordinance?
amending the zoning
I'll second that.
in the business, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Detroit Lakes relative to permitted accessory and conditional uses in business districts. Is that a good summary of the motion?
Yes, it is.
All right, any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, anybody want to go over anything in the variance and conditional use status report, Liz?
No.
Anyone else?
Say Mr. Liz.
I knew what he meant.
All right, well, with that, I guess this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hi,